It's interesting that Obama has not endorsed Harris or that wing, and even BLM made a very strong statement against anointing her as the supposed nominee.
Why does everybody give Obama this much power? Why is everybody saying this is what Obama wants?
What every other president, when they leave office, Trump's response after they just shot his ear was amazing. Was brave, and he responded with, fight, fight, fight. Good on him. I think the Democrat Party bosses, the Obama wing, realized that the support and the response of Trump after, look, you got to say, Trump's response after they just shot his ear was amazing. Was brave, and he responded with, fight, fight, fight. Good on him. Bad on the protective detail for not getting him the hell off the X, because obviously he's up and exposed. So if there was a second or third shooter, they would have shot. So again, no other shooting once the 20-year-old was down. But I think the sympathy and the momentum he built off of that, and I think the Dem leaders realized that Biden was just not going to make it as a candidate. So push him out. And push him out now so they supposedly have a convention, and they, trying to push Kamala Harris through. It's interesting that Obama has not endorsed Harris or that wing, and even BLM made a very strong statement against anointing her as the supposed nominee.
What do you think that is?
Maybe Obama's thinking about somebody else. I don't know.
Why does everybody give Obama this much power? Why is everybody saying this is what Obama wants?
What every other president, when they leave office, leaves Washington. Rearview mirror, pack it off, go write their memoirs, enjoy their grandkids. Barack Obama bought a house in Georgetown. Still running, still staffing, still definitely having a policy role. Both organizing the opposition to Trump and certainly organizing significant input to the Biden administration. Well, that's not conspiracy. That's just known.
Oh yeah, I mean he's also striking fear in the heart of America. I mean, did you see that movie they released or produced? The what was it called?
The one on Civil War?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
The Outage of Communications.
Yeah.
Produced by Barack and Michelle Obama. Basically, China invades. A lot of messaging going on is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Look, the idea of a foreign power invading America is tough. Tough for them to think about. I mean, it's like you have 1.2 guns for every person in America. The ability to control American society would be quite difficult.
I agree with you, and I also disagree. I think that we're getting hit from a lot of different angles that don't constitute the typical invasion that we're thinking about. We got the fentanyl crisis happening from the cartels. China's behind. Just yesterday, I had spent the whole day with Williamson County Sheriff's Department, and they were saying that the number one crime here right now is the Chinese are coming in and basically creating these scams with cryptocurrency. And so they'll come and to somebody and say, hey, give us $10,000, we'll double it within 2 weeks. Then they actually double it. So you get, 20, 30 grand back. And they're doing this to well-to-do, affluent, wealthy figures in society. The next investment's $500,000. It's $1 million. It's $2 million. And they just picked a guy up that had scammed, I think they said $12.4 million out of somebody. All this money is going directly back to China. And if it's happening in this county, then it's probably happening in just about every county.
Sure.
And so they're trying to deplete us of our own currency.
That's just cyber criminality run amok. I mean, when you have 1.4 billion people and you have a criminal class Look, the fentanyl deaths last year were, the headline number is 109,000 bad. I think the real number is 3 to 4 times that. So if you think about, we lost 400,000 KIA in World War II. So we're losing that much every year to fentanyl, organized, propagated, facilitated by the Chinese Communist Party. In the last Mexican election, there was 27 candidates that were assassinated by the cartels, funded by, funded organized by the CCP to promote the most left-wing side of politics in Mexico. So China is definitely running multiple covert action programs against the United States to destroy the society from the inside. They allow lots of cyber scams, all the rest. That's a great example of, buyer must beware. And it's also a good example, if you think about how the American West was settled, and I hate to sound like the constant spokesman for the private sector, but it's just fact. The American West, in the post-Civil War Wild West, it was not settled by the U.S. Army or even by the U.S. Marshals. Most of the law enforcement was done by private organizations, by the Pinkertons and those kind of things, because you had the Pony Express, which was the way people communicated, sent mail or packages. You had the railroads, you had banks. They were just getting robbed by large gangs. And it was not, the government lacked the resources and the focus really to run those gangs down and to extinguish them. And you even see that in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, that old Robert Redford movie. They would rob and pillage, go everywhere, and the sheriff would always stop at the county line, and the marshal would stop at this line, the army would stop at this border. But there's other guys that just chased them and chased them and chased them. They kept looking back. Who are those guys? It was the Pinkertons. So at that point, the Pinkerton Detective Agency had like 6 times the amount of armed agents than the Army did.
Really?
So again, nature hates a vacuum. Something's going to fill it. For all the talk of defund the police and we don't need police, then you're going to have cities like South Africa where you have housing neighborhoods that are surrounded by high voltage electrified fences with access gates that look like you're entering an embassy, with highly gunned up armed private response because there's no police that will come. People will self-organize.
You think so?
It's historic.
What do you think we should be doing right now? We have a government that is not functioning. Our border's wide open.
This is solved.
We're sending $80 million a week to the Taliban, $80 million a week to a terrorist organization that we fought for 20 plus years. Secret Service isn't functioning. FBI is completely distraught.
Yep.
Our spending is out of control. We have a president we haven't seen in a week who says he's unfit to run for a second term, but he's fit to finish this term?
Yeah, good question. Yikes. I drove out here. I drove across Virginia and Tennessee. And it reminded me of how great these states are and how big they are and how little they need the federal government. And I think the founding fathers were brilliant in that, pass the Constitution, but they wouldn't pass the Constitution without the Bill of Rights. And the 10th Amendment is very specific. It says, any power not specifically delegated to the federal government remains the sole purview of the states. And I think we're well past due time for states to flex up and to tell the federal government no on a lot of things. And if you're a border state and the federal government is clearly not enforcing border security, mount up your National Guard, mount up a militia, whatever it is, capture, deport, do what's necessary to protect your citizens and tell Washington to go F right off. And I think there's plenty of states that would join with them in doing that. I think COVID showed that how important local government is, right? Send your mayor or your county commissioner on whether you can go to the shopping mall or go to church or whatever. Again, not an argument we ever should have even had, but you can see the default the default fascist in people that want to control. And good governance should happen locally, and state government is also much more accountable. And I think one of the real problems with the federal government, particularly with the Senate, happened when back in the progressive era in the 19-teens, like 110 years ago, when they passed an amendment which took away, it used to be that the state legislatures would elect the senators, U.S. senators. But then they changed it to be direct election. So now you're voting from Tennessee to send your senator on. The problem with that is it allows money from not Tennessee, but from everywhere to flood into Tennessee's election to affect how that senator is elected, instead of that senator that goes to represent Tennessee be beholden to Tennessee's interests and the state legislature who elected him telling him what to do. It was a brilliant move by the Founding Fathers, terrible move by the progressives, the super leftists in the Woodrow Wilson era, to change that. And it allowed greater concentration of federal power.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.